I think we have upwards of 50 students who have logged in. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dr. Munawwar Izhar. I'm an internist and a nephrologist. Um, Practiced for about 25, 30 years. I'm more into education now, guidance and mentoring, consultancy for especially for foreign medical graduates. I also have my education products for internists and nephrologists here in US. So that's a brief about it. The reason we are doing this is because a lot of foreign medical graduates have been contacting medical student rotations that they're having a hard time getting the visas, especially given the current political scenario and situations. So medical student rotation along with psych, GN, IGN, and Visa Ready. Visa Ready has former US consular officers, and we have two of them here with us today. I will briefly introduce them and then they will talk to you about themselves. But before that, I would like to introduce Ashfaq, who's the coordinator of this event. He will be monitoring the meeting, taking the questions from the audience, and will conduct the meeting accordingly. If all the participants can follow the common rules and etiquette of a meeting, that would be nice. Um, Without further ado, Mispa and JD, would you like to go ahead, introduce yourselves?
Sure thing. Let me just turn on my camera. Hi, everyone. My name is JD. I'm the founder of Visa Ready and a former US visa officer. I served in India and in Canada, in Vancouver, which is a very metropolitan post, adjudicating applicants from all over the world. So I have a lot of experience with people in your situations and with the visa classes that you are likely to be pursuing. I also worked as a fraud prevention manager, a non-immigrant visa unit manager, even a software developer on a large scale, surprisingly, as a diplomat when I was serving in India and Canada. One of the things that really led me to start the company is that applicants have a lot of misconceptions, and it's not their fault at all, because there are a lot of myths out there on the internet, and also because the process honestly can be quite opaque. Even though you can look at the law, you can know in theory all of the criteria that you need to meet to apply for the kind of visa that you are seeking, it's still possible for the officer to be using some kind of rule of thumb that you've never heard of, and there's no reason that you should have ever heard of it. And officers do that for certain reasons. They have a lot of time pressure on them and other pressures as well. And in the current political climate, which, I think will factor into this conversation, one of those pressures is probably kind of a somewhat nebulous pressure to refuse more often. That's what I experienced when I was in India, which is where I learned to adjudicate visas. So anyway, I don't want to get too far ahead, but that's a bit about my background and why I started the company. I really wanted to be able to give people the insights they actually needed, as opposed to kind of the standard template advice that they were finding from sometimes other agencies and lawyers, but oftentimes just repeated online. So the officer's perspective into this process is really important, because the officer's decision is made mostly based on the interview itself. So documents are not as important of a part of the process as many people think they are. And I wanted to spread awareness of that. And I wanted to make people aware of the kinds of the sort of hidden meaning in some officer questions, not a hidden meaning so much as the officer's intent in asking those questions, and how they could answer questions that would answer the officer's actual concerns, even when sometimes the officer's keeping their cards a little close to the vest and those actual concerns don't come through in the questions.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think you have set a stage for things to come. Misbah, would you like to add on to that?
Hi, everyone. Sure. So my name is Misbah. Some of you have probably seen me on our Facebook page answering questions and responding to people. Just like Jesse, I worked as a visa officer. We actually overlapped a little bit in our career, and that's how we met. And that was something we used to talk about a lot is as we're interviewing applicants, how much we see the misconceptions. I also have experience as fraud prevention manager. I was also CBP liaison and also had the e-visa portfolio. So working at the U.S. Consulate in Vancouver, we got every nationality, every visa category. So actually, we have a very unique perspective than people at other consulates and embassies because we dealt with everything, everything, whether it was presidential proclamations or whatever was going on with any country specific concerns. So we're very knowledgeable when it comes to that, because a lot of the officers might be more knowledgeable in specific to that just one country, but we got the scope of 100 countries, 150, 200 countries easy. So yeah, just like Jesse said, we're here mostly to overcome a lot of the misconceptions that we see, and answer a lot of your questions so that we can help you better prepare for your visa applications and visa interviews, and hopefully dispel a lot of the myths. One of the common ones that I see a lot is people think that the decision is made ahead of time, which is not true. And as Jesse mentioned, it is mostly interview based. So the visa officer is looking at your visa application, your DS-160, and at that interview is when that decision is being made. There's no pre-decision, there's no algorithm, there's no scoring, there's no numbers. I think I've heard it all, seen it all. I get a lot of inquiries every day about how the decision is made. So hopefully we'll get to answer a lot more of your questions and give you a little bit more of a better understanding of the process and under what laws the visa officer is operating under.
Yeah, awesome. And I think both of you have adjudicated about 50,000 to 75,000 visas in your years of service. So thank you for that. That's an awesome, daunting task you both have performed. And I'm glad that you go ahead.
Sorry for interrupting. It's a reflection, though, on the pressure that officers are under, because to accumulate that many visa adjudications within, serving at 2 different posts, you're doing about 120 interviews every morning, in the space of 4 hours, which if you do the math is about 2 minutes per interview. Mm-hmm. So once in a while you get a tricky case and you have to give it 10 minutes, which means that everybody else gets less, even less than 2 minutes. So you really, the relevance here, obviously for those attending this webinar, is be aware that officers are under this kind of pressure. So they use tricks, rules of thumb to make decisions quickly. And that's why it's very good to have advice from a former officer, or at a very minimum, come in prepared for the fact that this is not a leisurely conversation. It's fast. You need to get your case strengths out there in front of the officer as quickly as possible and as often as possible.
Yeah. So in my career as a physician, I've realized that how the decisions made by me tremendously affect people, right? Their health, their going life, their well-being, so on and so forth. And I was just reflecting in my mind a minute ago that what you guys do tremendously affects the life of people. And I'm going to tell you a secret. If I had not become a physician, I would have gone into foreign services and become a diplomat.
I often have had the exact opposite thought. So I have often thought that in another life,
maybe I was a doctor. On the other side.
Yeah, right. That was my family. Be a doctor, and here I was not the doctor.
Yeah. So